Gifted, episode 4, Exit Strategy. Now this episode, I would say, keeps in line with a string of good episodes. There's always the cool action set piece somewhere in there. The emotional struggles of the characters having to work together and build their powers, I thought was really well done in this episode, especially for Lauren and Andy. I thought that was really cool, them combining their powers where Andy, of course, is still trying to learn, and Lauren goes through, like, a small teaching process, and it's like, all right, you focus on the lamp, I'll try to, we'll combine our powers together. That way it's not as explosive and, catastrophic as it might normally be. And I thought that was really cool. And they do it, on the lamp. They test it on the car. It changes up a little bit when the bus is actually moving. So I thought that was cool. And Lauren has to, get Andy mad. It's like, sorry, you just better, when you're angry. And I was like, yeah, that totally makes sense. They don't have time to go through the whole inspirational training process. It's like, time to keep going. It's time to move. So definitely thought that was cool. They just barely touched on that, but I thought that was a really good moment. And seeing Andy actually have like a little bit more control, he's able to actually, because even without Lauren actually helping him out, he did still have a nice bit of focus on the lamp. So I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, other stuff was definitely rumbling around it, but it was still like just the the top of the light pole exploded. So I was like, all right, that's cool. We see like a little bit more focus control with him, so that was nice. Of course, the stuff going on with Blink, trying to figure out that, and I was like, okay. So that was one of the big things at the end of the last episode. I was like, all right, is she going to, it seemed pretty clear. I was like, maybe they can take the memories back, but it seemed like it was a much bigger deal. So I was like, clearly they can't just, zap, pull them right out of you. So I was like, all right, Blink is going to have this memory in her head. It may or may not be a huge issue. There are 2 examples given in the last episode, and this could be another one of those problems, or it could fade. And they do give us a bit of an explanation. It's like, it can just fade away. And it's like, well, what if it doesn't? And it seems like it's not. And I don't know what that means. I thought it was kind of fast-tracked, but it seems like it's not as fast-tracked as it seemed, where it's like this one memory is just like implanted in her head. It was actually a temporary thing. Although, unfortunately, she seems to kind of keep going back to it every time she goes to sleep. And she even confronts Thunderbird about it. And it's like, hey, when we first met, did we like go outside and come back in? It's like, no, we never did. But they have like 2 moments. That's one of the moments where, she's talking to us like, how things started off. And every question she had, she was like getting closer and closer. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know what this means. And then, of course, towards the end, when they're actually in like the thick of the final battle, they have the part where they're running and Thunderbird gets up on the thing and he picks her up, and then they're like chest to chest. And I was like, okay, here we go. Like, it's another little moment. So it's hard to say how that's gonna play out with the characters, because it's like it definitely is a downgrade from what like that initial push when she like first got that memory in her head and it was like boom, instant love. It definitely drained away, but it's still there. It's like in her subconscious at this point, and she's trying to fight it because she doesn't know that the memory is implanted. So that's, I think, an interesting part of it, where it's just there, but she's also like fighting against it because she knows it's not like 100% where it's like, that's totally my memory and we did that. Why is he being weird? It was just like, this crazy thing, like it's like a dream for her. It's like this weird thing just keeps popping up. Why do I have these odd feelings for him? So it can still build from this point, but I was glad to see that it wasn't like the fast track like I thought it was going to be, where it's just like he has to like push her away and then they go through like this whole debacle. It's like, it's probably going to still lead to that, but it's done in an interesting way where it's like somehow this is still unique, where it builds up to the disaster, because I'm sure she's going to eventually find out, because they don't tell her this episode, and it's like, okay, it's clearly, it's kind of still there, but they're doing some other stuff, so it's like that's not their main focus. It's saving, their friends and stuff like that. So we'll see how that plays out, but I'm like, all right, it's not as crazy as I thought it was going to be, but it's definitely there, and it's messing with her head because she has this weird memory implanted, but it's like, it's not strong enough to be like, that's definitely what happened. So she has to like question what's going on with herself. So I like that element. We do have a flashback in this episode, which kicks things off, where it turns out they were attacking one of the Sentinel facilities 2 years ago, and that ended up getting one of their friends seemingly killed. So I thought that was very interesting. Also, the actor used to be in the Vampire Diaries. That might not matter, but I was like, oh, there's Matt. So he gets shot, and it seemed like he died, which was oddly real. The way they showed it when he got shot, I was like, oh, that kind of, something about that seemed too realistic to me, where he just dropped and he was dead. And I was like, oh, that felt weird to watch that, because that's what would happen in real life. Because normally, they play it up on TV where it's like people get shot up a bunch of times, or it's like the headshot and the blood splatter and stuff, and it's like, oh, it's TV dramatic. But it was like, you don't see any blood, you don't see anything. He was just hit by a bullet somewhere important, and he just dropped and died. And I was like, for some reason, that was so much more impactful than like any like gunshot or kill I've ever seen in a TV show. It was like, that's dark, because that's what it really looks like when people get shot. Like, if they're shot somewhere vital, you just drop and there's nothing. And I was like, it was weird. Like, that may not have happened for everybody, but I was like, I've seen some videos, and I was like, that was weird for me to watch. But it turns out he didn't actually die, and he's mind controlled. He's like some sort of almost living sentinel. It's really weird, so I don't know where we're headed with that, but we get like the little tattoo. This probably has something to do with the scientist that keeps calling, I can't remember his name actually. I think his name is Baron. I don't really even remember. I'm being totally honest, I can't remember like the main villain's name. I don't remember. But I'm assuming that this has something to do with that guy, where it's like, okay, he's the other side of Sentinel Services, or he's his own. Apparently he is actually his own thing. He's just something crucial within the world. We just don't know what it is yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if, somewhere out there, Sentinel, whatever, the corporation of whatever the Sentinels are within this universe of the show, there's some kind of deal with that guy where it's like, okay, well, clearly he tests, mutants and things like that. Like, when he shows up, the first thing he does is ask this guy to like look up some old files on mutant siblings. Like, he's going into research in that field because he doesn't know much about it. So it's clear he does experiments on mutants, and I feel like this might be a part of that, where somehow, even, it seemed like he officially died, so I don't know if they brought him back to life. They could have another mutant that could have done that, even if it's in a weird way, but if it was enough for them to do some weird, scientific stuff, like, because he looked like he should have been dead, because it was like from right here down, I was like, he looks really pale. It looks like he's almost dying. Like, when he was knocked out of it, it was almost like his body was about to go like completely pale white again, because he was supposed to be dead. And then the color was like starting to come back and go, back down his body as the control kind of took over again. And I was like, that's really odd. I'm pretty sure that was on purpose, because it wasn't like, oh, it could be the light. It was like, his body looks like it's white, and then as it gets higher to like where his brain is, that's where the actual color and like, the color from blood comes in. And I was like, I feel like something's going on here, where he was dead and they found some crazy way to not only bring him back to life, but to actually bring him back with his mutant ability. So that's really crazy. And I don't necessarily know what that means, but they definitely introduced a crazy story element in this episode, showing this character. And that was, 2 years ago, and this is the first time they've encountered that. So they've been working on it for quite some time, and now it's officially there. I'm sure it's, this isn't the first time they've ever used it, but it was just like, wow, that's an interesting reveal. So I'm excited for how that story is going to play out, as the season progresses, and wherever, that storyline is headed. Should be pretty cool. It should be fairly dark as well, with like reanimated mutant corpses and stuff like that. So should be interesting. Might be the closest we ever get to Marvel Zombies at this point. But I was like, okay, that's very interesting. I'm very excited to see how that plays out. As far as the whole dynamic of the final battle, and I guess really, that being like the main story of the episode, definitely well done. We get some very dangerous stuff for Eclipse, where he goes back to, his old ways, some of the darker things that he regrets, and he ends up torturing this guy, which is super quick. I thought he was going to do like, little bits and pieces, like torture him with his leg and stuff. It was like, nope, you don't want to be blind. Boom, this can blind you, just say some stuff, and it was over in a couple seconds. It was like, oh wow, like, no wonder, like, that's like insanely valuable. You don't have to do all the pain, all that. It's just like, you don't want to be blind. I can make you blind. Let's go. So, unfortunately, he is kind of back in with his cartel. Also unfortunate, he left the daughter of the leader of the cartel, and now the third unfortunate thing is that she is now the leader. And she's clearly not super happy, because she says, I hope the horror was worth it. I was like, oh, okay, she's definitely still pissed. So he's in a dark position right now. I'm sure, it might be a couple episodes before that ends up coming back. But now he's kind of trapped, and it's like, you come when I call, and that's pretty much all there is to it. And I don't know if they could find some way to actually track him down, but, that's going to be one of those story elements that they kind of have to touch on. Like, will he risk everyone's life that they may or may not find him, or will he just go out and do what he needs to do in order to kind of keep, I want to say her name was Carmen, keep her off his back. So that's gonna be dark, and just another dark element of the show to come in for the characters. But it was cool to get that kind of history of his character and like what he did to survive after his parents kind of kicked him out, had to join the cartel, and he was good at it, and then he kind of left that life behind, and he immediately left that life behind and left her to go be with Lorna, and I was like, ooh boy. So that should be interesting as things continue forward. But going into the actual battle, that was definitely cool. They had like a couple of people, which is why it wasn't easy. Like they had to find some way to make it difficult. So a bunch of people were freaking out. Only a couple of people stayed, and we have the invisible guy. I wish I could remember her name because she has like so much more importance now ever since the last episode. But Johnny's ex-girlfriend, I really got to get her name by the next episode because she's like really important now. But the two of them help out the rest of the main characters. Invisible Dude ends up being shot because, we have the dampener. I thought it was going to end up being just an instrument, like just some piece of equipment. But, he ends up getting busted. He gets shot in the stomach. I thought that he got shot a couple times, but I don't know if this was on purpose or they just happened to choose that location. But they were shooting and like blowing up red brick. So after he got shot the first time, and they missed him, and the brick shot behind him, he like exploded. I thought the bullet went through him, and that was like a blood splatter on the wall. And I was like, oh man, they're like shooting him up, doing like the TV shoot up. And then I was like, oh wait, he's not, he was still moving. I was like, oh, he should be dead from that. And then they shot again, and they missed his head, but the brick exploded. I was like, they just blew his brains out. And I was like, oh, he just got shot in the stomach, that's red brick. So that kind of got me for like those couple of seconds. Because he was getting shot and it just looked like blood splatter on the wall. I didn't register that it was just red brick. Like the dust was kind of shooting out because they were like blowing up the little squibs. That's what the fake bullet things are called. And I was like, holy crap. And I was like, oh, that was just the brick behind him. Like he only got shot once and then he fell and he ended up living through the episode. And I was like, that was kind of intense. Like he got shot and then he got shot and then his head was blown off. I was just like, holy crap, they're getting intense. And then I was like, oh, no. A couple of seconds of process, and I was like, I understand. But I don't know, like I said, I don't know if that was on purpose or if that was just by accident, but that's definitely what I thought. During that scene, I was like, holy crap, they're shooting this dude up. Like, with it being Fox, they typically don't go like that far with it. So that just kind of surprised me for those couple of seconds, and then it ultimately was like nothing anyway. But the whole fight was cool. The revelation was cool that they had this dude come back to life, obviously introducing a brand new plot point. It was the best of both worlds, honestly, for this final confrontation, because I mentioned in my last review, I didn't want Lorna and Reed to end up getting saved. I wanted them to kind of do their own thing. I thought they would actually get transferred to the facility, and I was hoping they would like band a bunch of mutants together, and then they'd all like do like crazy mutant prison break. That would have been cool. But this was still really awesome because even though they were technically getting rescued, the plan fell apart. Like the bus already, it blew up in the wrong location, so they had to like move through the facility to actually get a line of sight to open up portals and everything like that for Blink. And everything was just off. Like they were all in different positions compared to where the bus actually ended up stopping. So it's like, all right, they're still trying to go through with their plan, but ultimately it just falls apart. They had no way to do it because there were so many people there. But once Thunderbird took his buddy out and the powers came back, Lorna, like the look that they gave her, I thought was hilarious because she was just like I feel all the metal on the planet or something. So I love that scene because she's got her powers back, and then of course like everything in there. I thought it was weird because I was like, okay, we saw her in the other episode, like in the first episode actually, when she was super pissed off at Reed for mentioning the baby thing. She yanked a computer from the other room and like slammed it against the glass, and I was like, okay, well they're in a bus, let's go. And she's like, everything in here is plastic. I'm like, they're definitely in a bus though, and it's not a plastic bus, it's a metal bus. I know she could just be like, rip things from like right up under her feet. So it was weird to me that they did that because I'm like, and I guess technically you could say that she needs to be like in a very serious state of emotion to use that much power. But I was like, I feel like, the fact that they're like, there was plastic where they were, but she could look through the plastic and it's like this much plastic, and then here's metal like right here. And I was like, why can't she just like bend that in and kind of cut through? But also that would take forever to actually do that. So Reed is like, all right, well, I got metal on my knee, so take the screws out of my leg, which was super tough. I was like, that's a pretty bold move, and it was a cool scene because I was like, that's like, it's time to go. And he was kind of prepared. She yanks the nails out of his leg, and she like shoots him through and kills the guard. It was definitely making me think of like X-Men 2 when Magneto like escapes and everything. But but she like shoots the nails through the plastic and like kills the dude and hits him in the neck, and then they break out, and I was like, that was really cool. And then she like catches all the bullets in midair and like shoots them back, and then she was able to like mentally collect all the guns and just like snatch them out of everybody's hands. I was like, that was cool. That was nice to see. I always love seeing that. Like father, like daughter. So it just looked cool. I always love scenes like that with any of the characters that can control magnetism. So that was definitely an awesome way to kind of end things out, where she gets her powers back. Everybody's reunited. Polaris and Eclipse are together. Reed is back with his family, so everything's good. Technically, everybody lived. People got wounded and stuff like that, but ultimately they didn't lose a single person, and now they're able to kind of just go free. And it's like, cool. We have the introduction to this new crazy, weird mutant zombie thing going on. Whatever they're going to end up explaining with that. We have everyone escaping. Then we have, like I said, I can't remember his name, but our main villain flipping out. He's like, I'm done. Like, I don't care about just catching this family or just catching this group. I want every person, period, who cares about mutants just taken care of. Like, we need to bring everyone in, capture every point, every person. I want everyone gone. Like, every mutant needs to be done. And I'm very excited for the next episode, because we are actually getting, the backstory of how that guy lost his daughter. And we see that some of the characters, I mean, that could have been present time, but it looked like they had Thunderbird covering somebody up, and there was like a car explosion. That could have been a flashback, but that also could have been like the present day. So we technically don't know that, but I assume we're going to get the backstory to that event from, both sides of the fence. And I'm actually really excited for that, because it's a big deal in our main villain's backstory. So I'm excited to get that early. And then, of course, I'm sure just the other stuff in general, seeing what happened, back then for the mutant side of things. That should be fun to see as well. So overall, another really good episode. Cool power usage. Great new introduction to whatever this weird new story element is going to be with the resurrected mutants. So I think everything they did was cool. A little bit of training, Lauren training her brother. So that was nice. Polaris with the cool escape, and Reed with a fairly ballsy move. I mean, I can only imagine how much that hurts to have the nails embedded in your leg to just snap right out of you like that. So cool on, from both sides of the fence with their characters actually managing to escape at the end there. But all in all, pretty fun episode. Of course, would love to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. And with the next episode focusing on, I would imagine most of the episode, like the main story, I would have to assume is going to be flashback based, so kind of like a clip show, except it's all new content. I would love to know what you guys think we're going to see as far as character development from both sides. Of course, we're going to get the tragic story of how this guy lost his daughter and how that's what made him like hate mutants, because I feel like it's going to be, I used to love mutants and then I hated them, or he was just like right in the middle and then that's what, made him upset. But who knows? We might get some extra content. We might even get new characters. Somehow, we might see another person die and then we see that person come back. That could be like a new thread that they put in like every couple of episodes or something. It's like, we lost our friend here, and then, maybe not even in the next episode, but the one after next, we get to see that person who died, years ago during this event come back, and it's like, we thought you died in an explosion or something. And it kind of builds up that thread that there is somehow like resurrecting mutants with their power. So I hope that comes about, because I just think that's such a cool storyline. I can't wait to see them kind of expand on that, because I have so many questions. But we'll love to know your theories on what we're going to get from this flashback and this grand event, and what we'll see as far as development from both sides of the fence with our villain, as well as our heroes that were involved in the underground movement back then. And like I said, definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.